Hi, this is Leslie Freeman, taking you through blended learning and student motivation. What is the job teachers are trying to accomplish in their classrooms? According to Ditch That Textbook, things have changed a bit. Matt Miller says, our role in education has shifted from teacher to virtual learning travel guides. This means our job is not the same as it once was, and as reflective, informed teachers, we need to make some changes too. Teachers want to give students the best chance for learning. They want to nurture independence in students. They want to create an avenue for self-reflection and goal setting for students. And they need to meet students where they are educationally. In essence, teachers change the impossible to possible, unachievable to achievable, and the unable to able. How do they do that? First, we need to remember what Ann Landers tells us about independence. It's not what you do for your children, but what you've taught them to do for themselves that will make them successful human beings. This video from SchoolTube gives an idea of the best practices for teaching and learning, for goal setting and reflection. I've included a video from Michael Horn, who describes how to meet students at their needs, how to continue to push students who are excelling and need enrichment possibilities, and how to ensure that the education of students is not being impeded by stopping whenever an assessment has been given, even if that student has not shown mastery of a given topic. How will students enjoy learning and feel successful? Engagement will increase as students feel more in control of their learning. As they continue to make goals for themselves and be a part of their learning process, it will be important for them to ensure that they are thinking about their learning progression and where they need to go. Enjoyment will stem from a value on mastery as opposed to assessment. How frustrating it must be for a student who has shown that they do not understand something only to be then given more to learn that spirals onto what they have shown they don't understand. Working at a differentiated pace will allow students to be ready for new concepts. If a student is not ready for something new, they will have time to continue working on that until they can show mastery, and then they'll be ready to learn whatever new concept is next for them. Being a teacher who's doing their job in the classroom and making students understand what their job is in the classroom as well means that we must take all of the things from their world and mix it all up to make the classroom a more inviting, positive, and motivational place. So how can I optimize those relationships with my students? The first thing I want to do is create an environment where, as a teacher, I'm more available to my students. Creating a relationship with a student is really important to me. I want to know the things that are important to them. I want to know their hobbies, what their home life is like, how they feel about their learning, and what they think they're good at. Those kinds of pieces of information will really help me ensure that I am doing the best for them in their learning. I also need to make sure that I'm meeting students at their current level. Being available to assess students just through observation will make sure that I am not missing something with students, that they are getting exactly what they need from me because I'm building that relationship. What needs to be done before any of these learning experiences can happen? In my classroom, I find it very important to set goals for students, to set expectations for students that they can understand and follow. I also will need to create a design for my classroom. What do I want it to look like? As I'm creating that design, I need to think about how I can work with students in a more active way. And the way that I feel will be the best suited for all of the goals that I've created for my classroom and how I teach will be creating a station rotation and flipped classroom design. This video explains blended learning, the station rotation model, and what the benefits are for a classroom. as I create a station rotation and flipped classroom design, I really want to make sure that I am not the dictator of my classroom, that I am more a facilitator and orchestrator of learning. And in order to do that, I need to make sure that I'm encouraging students to look at their own learning reflectively. They need to become more responsible for the things that they have learned and need to move on, or the things that they haven't learned and need some further instruction. This video is on self-assessment and reflections from students and teachers and how that helps those students become more responsible for their learning and what it looks like when a student is reflective of their own progress. Another thing I think about as I'm considering what kind of classroom I want and being that facilitator is I need to think about how I can allow students to move through a learning progression at a differentiated pace. I know as a teacher that not all students are going to learn at the same pace. It would be uncharacteristic of students all to learn the same thing at the same time. Yet as teachers, we let an assessment be the end all of that concept. Even if students haven't finished mastering that concept, we move on. Those kids are not getting a chance to build that foundation knowledge and instead are being thrown even more information as they have already proven that they cannot consider how to process. This video shows how a station rotation model works. The stations are the different groups, the students are red, and the teacher is blue. In this station rotation model, there is a teacher's aide, which is the green dot, and it shows how all of the students will move from each station to another. Looking at this model for blended learning, I love the way the student-centered piece is directly in the middle. It is the foundation of blended learning, that it is all about the students. I love that the separate pieces are face-to-face instruction. It's not left out. Students are needing that face-to-face time with their teacher to get information from them in a way that is a traditional method, but is not something that is going to be so different that they are going to have a hard time understanding the process that they need to go through. Another piece is online learning. Online learning is going to be a cornerstone of blended learning. Without the online part, it's not exactly blended learning. The blue piece of objectives and assessment is a very important component of blended learning. Without these, we don't have a backbone for what we're actually teaching students. And the light green piece is motivation. That's what this is all about. How do I continue to get students excited about learning, to be positive about learning, and to be more responsible for the things that they are learning? As I continue my educational career journey, I need to think about how I can reflect on what I've learned and how I can apply that into my classroom in a way that will be beneficial for students. In my opinion, blended learning and the station rotation model with some flipped classroom design will be super important for students as they are continuing to learn in a more digital age.